Some voices exist that no one hears except the one they belong to. They're not loud, not clear, but once they begin, they don't stop. This story started with a sound, not a scream, not an event, just a whisper. In a quiet town, where everything moved as it always did, there was a man no one ever questioned. Not because he was perfect, but because he was too normal. He blended into people, silent, invisible. If you passed by him, there was nothing to remember. And maybe that was exactly what he wanted. His name was Dennis Rader, a city employee, an active church member, a father, a husband, a neighbor. The kind of man that, when his name came up, people would say, "He's a good man." And that was exactly what he wanted. Nothing happened suddenly. No trauma, no dark childhood, no moment you could point to and say, "This is where everything changed." Everything started slowly. So slowly, even he didn't notice. At first, it was just a thought. Passing. Subtle. Meaningless. Something that could have disappeared in that same moment. But it didn't. It came back. And the next time, it was clearer. Fantasies no one could see. Images that only lived inside his mind. Control. Power. Dominance over another human being. Some thoughts, when they're not ignored, they begin to stay. Not by force, but through repetition, like footprints that sink deeper each time. Time passed. On the surface, everything stayed the same. He worked, he spoke, he smiled. No one saw anything, because everything was happening in a place no one can see. Slowly, that thought was no longer alone. It gained detail. It took shape. It became something that could no longer be easily ignored. He began to build. Not in reality, in his mind. Scenarios, moments, details that became more complete each time, and every time it repeated, it felt more real, more familiar, closer. Psychologists have a name for it. Fantasy to rehearsal to action. First, you think it. Then you practice it. Then...
You didn't come this far to stop here. Subscribe and go deeper with Obscura Mind.
He wasn't just imagining anymore. He was rehearsing. Without anyone knowing. Without anything being seen. The boundaries slowly began to fade between what was real and what was only imagined. And when that line disappears, everything changes. That feeling could no longer be satisfied by thinking. It was as if something inside him was searching for the next step, something beyond imagination. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was choosing, planning, waiting. Everything was ready, not from a single moment, but from years before. And when it finally happened, nothing was sudden. Nothing was random. It was simply the continuation of something that had already lived inside his mind. Many times, he even gave himself a name. An identity only he knew. BTK. But by the time the world heard that name, the real story had already begun long before, in a place no one sees. And then the world found out. Between 1974 and 1991, 10 people were killed. Men, women, children, all in Wichita, Kansas, all in complete silence. But the killer, no one knew who it was. After 1979, he suddenly went quiet. For years, there was nothing. The case went cold, and people thought maybe he was gone, maybe he was dead, but he was only waiting. In 2004, he came back. He sent a letter to a newspaper, then more messages, then a floppy disk. That same disk led police to his church. His DNA confirmed it. And in February 2005, he was arrested. In court, without any deal, he confessed to 10 counts of first-degree crimes. He called his victims projects. He explained how he hunted them. The sentence, 175 years in prison. No possibility of parole. the heaviest sentence the judge could give. There was no execution, because Kansas, at the time of his crimes, did not have the death penalty. And now, Dennis Rader, 81 years old, is imprisoned at El Dorado Correctional Facility in Kansas, and he will remain there for the rest of his life. This is not just the story of a killer. This is the story of something that grows slowly when it goes unseen. We all have thoughts we never say out loud, images we quickly dismiss, feelings we choose to ignore. But the difference is right here. The problem is not the thought. The problem is not the fantasy. The problem begins when empathy turns off, control becomes pleasure, and other human beings become objects. Whether you stop that thought or allow it to stay, to return, and each time to grow stronger, because anything repeated eventually feels normal. And once something feels normal, it is no longer questioned. Dennis wasn't different from the beginning. He didn't start with violence. He started with something simple, a moment that could have ended right there, but it didn't. Because some monsters are not born, they are made. Slowly, silently, and exactly from the place no one pays attention to. The mind is not our master. Many of us believe that everything that forms in our mind is reality, but it isn't. The mind is just a tool. Like any other tool, if you don't control it, it will control you. Dennis Rader never told his mind no. He never asked, why does this thought keep coming back? Where is this voice coming from? Can I get help? He simply allowed the mind to become the master. But you can choose. The mind is your employee. You are the employer. You give the commands. You decide which thought stays and which one goes. This power has always been within you. You just have to learn how to use it. And when you truly master your mind, no thought can torment you, and nothing can pull you away from your path. Pay attention to the signs and to the right path in your life. We came from light, and to light we return. Darkness always exists, just as much as light exists, and the essence of life is balance. Define your purpose, and don't let anyone pull you away from yourself. Darkness isn't dangerous. The darkness you're unaware of is.
Reality is never the full story. Obscura.